Thanks a lot, Tim. And now, as we have done with the other speakers, there's coming a microphone around, and you have to keep it close to your mouth. So now you can put questions to Tim speak, and Lars is coming around with the microphone. So who's opening for questioning?
Hi. I think you mentioned something about you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Al-Anon in the beginning. Maybe it was just inside my ears, but I thought you said that. And if you did, could you say a little bit about why you said that?
Part of coming from a family that is affected by alcoholism is you get very alert, you get very observant to what alcoholics around you are doing. And as someone mentioned earlier, the great obsession of the alcoholic is alcohol. The great obsession of the Al-Anon is alcoholics. And if you're not qualified for Al-Anon by the time you get to AA, by the time you've gone to 100,000 AA meetings and 9 out of 10 people in your phone are in AA, boy, are you qualified for Al-Anon. Now, not everyone who comes to AA needs to go to Al-Anon. I totally need to stress that. If you're broken the way I am, you'll discover yourself having no idea of what is going on in your life, but you're very aware of everybody else's program. You're very aware of all the other groups in AA which are getting it wrong. You're very aware of what your sponsees ought to be doing, and you think about them when they're not in the room. Now, lots of these lessons can be taught about how to deal with that, can be taught by a good AA sponsor, but sometimes the superhighway is found in Al-Anon, and there's some really good literature.
Someone else with a question?
Have you intertwined your Al-Anon and AA program, or do you keep them kind of separate from one another?
When I'm in AA, I speak AA. When I'm in Al-Anon, I know I mentioned Al-Anon tonight, because it's a slightly different forum, but when I'm in AA, I don't mention Al-Anon. When I'm in Al-Anon, I don't mention AA. Whatever fellowship I go to, I speak the language of the fellowship, because the language is very different.
You said something about no higher power, not actually having a higher power in AA for years. That's what you said. How did you do that?
I did have a power greater than myself operating in my life through a lot of people in AA, but I didn't have the conscious direct contact. When I tried to speak, the voice wasn't there. When I try and talk to a power greater than myself today, one of the great lines in the big book, this is kind of all I need to know, is you stay close to God and you perform his work well. I have to help other people get their heart's desire. That's the performing his work well. I need to stay close to God. I need to talk to God, and I need to be quiet enough. I need to shut up for long enough to listen. And this is true with people, and this is true with God. I need to keep my mouth shut. But I can't hear God if all I can hear is my own noise. And I need 3 things to stop the noise. Number 1, I need to forgive everyone for everything on the grounds that when they act badly, they're being driven by emotions which are more powerful than them, just as when I have acted badly, I am driven by emotions which are more powerful than me. They're not doing it at me, they're doing it near me. I need to forgive everyone for everything. I need to tell the truth. And I need to make amends. And when I do those 3 things, engage in a life of service, when I say, God, hello, are you there? The voice says, oh, of course I'm here. Now, it comes to me in language now because I'm too limited to be able to communicate in any other way. So it's a bit silly. It's like a computer. It doesn't really understand English or Danish. It's just an interface. And prayer and meditation are like that. They're just a linguistic interface. But I needed to meet the conditions set out in the first 164 pages. You meet the conditions, boom, higher power. So, terrified me.
Hi, thanks. I'm Andrea, I'm in Al-Anon. what was the difference between the step work you did to begin with, and then when you said you met some people and then they said you hadn't done the steps? What was the difference between the two versions of the steps you did?
Basically, I filled in the gaps. There was some, what I learned, and I've since got a sponsor who is from the tradition of the people that made the tapes, so I've got the kind of real live version now. It's a greater the difference is, number one, a greater understanding in step 4. I knew in step 4 that these things affected my pride, my self-esteem, my personal relations, my blah, 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 the third column of the resentment inventory. But I didn't know what to do with that. When the book says we considered it carefully, my mind was blank. I had no idea how to consider it carefully. I considered it carefully with the help of other people, and I've discovered I have created all the harm that has been done to me by expecting people to be a certain way. A friend of mine says, the only reason you're ever upset is because you haven't got your own way. If you want to not be upset, you need to not have a way. And I have used step 4 to find all of my demands that I'm placing on the world. If I drop those, boom, you're there. There are real people there. That was the first thing. The second thing, multiple step 5s. Take step 5. When I take step 5, I tell the truth to a series of people. And that experience has blown my mind. I completed every amend. And that's not a big tradition thing in lots of places. They talk about making amends, but they don't talk about completing. They say, in God's time. It's amazing when you ask God directly and desperate to make them, how all sorts of things happen. And finally, there's a line where it says, I think it's page 19 of the Big Book English version, don't know about the Danish version. Page 19, it talks about step 12 work. Most of us spend much of our free time engaged in the kind of work we're going to describe, and it was not until much of my free time, and that's a lot of time, was spent on sponsoring, on group service, on intergroup service, on regional service, and now on national service. It was not until I fulfilled those conditions that I got the promises described in the Big Book. You have to follow the recipe. That's been my experience.
Okay, I think this is it.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.